0 to 1 needs a different kind of lens versus late to exit stage companies.
But we are not in the business of kudos, right?
Correct.
We are in the business of, in this digital value creation journey, helping them accelerate their value creation. Reimagine what the function can be. Also, like I said, it's strategic, it's beyond recruiting or design or benchmarking.
In the long run, people will be the only differential between companies, right? The competitive advantage.
Maybe we facilitate a community.
Yes.
The community of all the human capital people coming together. Because often we don't know the solutions, but there is also no forums to bring people together.
For our first episode, I couldn't have asked for a better person to start this. I have with me the OG founder of Indian startup ecosystem, also the founder and managing director of Matrix Partners India, a mentor to me. Avi, thank you so much and welcome to our first episode of Matrix Moves People First.
I'm so excited. It's our first episode together as well, so I'm really excited, Rupali. I know we were, at one point thinking about what should we name this, and then it was so easy, right?
Yes.
I mean, founders first has always been our kind of mantra, and founders are ultimately people. And what function do you manage? And so it's people first. Super excited.
No, likewise. Especially today morning, right? When I was thinking, I spent so much time consuming Matrix Moments podcast before I came to Matrix and during the process. And today, doing this feels like a full circle altogether. But just to go back a bit, I don't know whether you remember, the first day I joined Matrix, I joined at around 9:30 a.m. in the morning. I get an email in my inbox telling that I need to shadow none other than Mr. Avnish Bajaj for an interview. And you could imagine, right? And it is now 4+ years as a part of this team. I've had the honor and the privilege to work with so many founders, learn a lot of, I think, what to do and more so what not to do, different sectors, different ecosystem. So when I zoom out now, Avi, it is very easy to see the multiplier effect of the work that this team has done. However, my question to you is, what made the team, Matrix leadership team, think of investing in building a human capital team? You started it Fund 2, and I think you started scaling it in Fund 3. I came early 2019, Fund 3 was announced early 2019. Just wanted to understand this rationale because not too many VCs were doing it in India at that
point. And now they're all doing it.
Yes, everyone
and
is.
So we have to reinvent and we'll talk more about it. But by the way, it's a great thing that they're all doing it. Ultimately, we are all part of the same ecosystem and the more we can help. So let's go back a little bit. If you look at starting way back as the first fund, I would say we were more mid-market PE, less VC. Then starting second fund, we got Lucky, Ola, Razorpay, Off Business, MSwipe, Practo, so many of these digital companies. Then obviously the venture flywheel started turning for us, for everybody. The nature of our work started changing a little bit. And if I look at even when we were doing mid-market PE, we were very, very closely involved in building the L-1 layer.
Yeah.
And in those world, we call them promoters. In today's world, in the tech world, it's more founders. But I still remember finance function used to be typically the first one. Whether you look at healthcare companies, bunch of our companies. So that used to be the core of the IP work. If you ask me, it is something that I used to take pride in, was excited by, and thought was the highest impact work I could do, which was helping the founders build teams. We've had these discussions on, what does it take to go through various stages of company building, org 3.0. Org building is the key, right? Having had my own background as a founder, and also if you look at the US context, the MD is here, it's called GPs over there.
Yes.
They really, this is the core part of their job, recruiting and team building. So this is done everywhere. Having been a founder, the the perspective I was trying to bring to those recruitment was that can I help them accelerate their journey, right? So the reality is that's how it started. Then as venture picked up, we started investing in younger and younger founders. The pace is much faster,
Correct.
right? People like you started showing up in the ecosystem because remember 15 years ago there was no ecosystem, right? So you started seeing both the pull from the founders, the market, the need to basically scale up and realizing that this is so core and strategic to us, and I don't think of it as recruiting. So like you said, now all VCs are doing it. I just think we do it better. And I'm not even joking here because I have been in many board meetings with some of the best known founders in the country. And there are other VCs on the board, and our founders will, I think, to also maybe tease the other VCs a little bit, say, Rupali ne ye karaya, Devlina ne ye karaya, Harsh, Prajwal, Tanya, Rashi, everybody's name comes out. So also an opportunity to thank you guys. Shout out to our human capital team. It gets us a lot of kudos. But we are not in the business of kudos, right?
Correct.
We are in the business of, in this digital value creation journey, helping them accelerate their value creation. And I think that was very clear. And the fact that there would be domain experts who can do a better job of it. I remember you were talking about our first interview, shadowing. There, we were, the idea was for you to collaborate, calibrate with our thinking. But even in the interview, I was calibrating with your thinking, saying, what do you think of references?
I remember. I remember you asked me, and I'm like, what? Am I supposed to, how in the world do I tell him what I think? But I think somewhere down the line, some things I said resonated.
Must have.
Must have. But no, thank you. I think, Avi, I remember when I was having my conversations, right? It was a lot of how it will span out versus how the role would look like, right? It was a lot of evangelizing that end role in my head also.
No, and I know we'll come back to this later, but I think one of the things I remember telling you is, and this was also something I wanted to talk about, that you've also mentioned to me that how have we been scaling it up more? There's one of those things, and we talk about it with companies, that they have to get to product market fit. So they have to get to 0 to 1. Then there is 1 to 10. And then there's 10 to infinity. We got very quick product market fit in this function. And you guys should be very proud of that, right? And we didn't have to do 0 to 1. We went very quickly from 0 to 10 and beyond. And now I think we are somewhere in the infinity journey, which we'll talk about, saying what next. But it was such an easy fit that we said we have to scale it up. Founders are loving it. Investment professionals are loving it. Market needs it. I will tell you, in my head, it was, and I remember telling you this when you were coming on, that this is a strategic function, not a tactical function. And it continues to remain like that. I think what happens often is people think of it as recruitment. Right? It is not. And human capital, well, that's a well-known word. But when people peel it back, they still think of recruitment.
Correct.
Right? And for me, it's way beyond that. And that in our case, and I think this is specific to Matrix, that the human capital team has sent us founder leads. The human capital team gets involved with the companies even before deal is closed, right? And it is actually factored into the investment decision making, saying, yahan pe ye complete karna hai. There is a company we are talking to right now, where I think 2 months ago, the team got plugged in. We still haven't made the investment or shaken hands even. And the core hiring that had to be done has already started happening. So it's very, very strategic. And then my favorite question in our one-on-ones is, what do you think of portfolio companies, right? I think the indicators one gets when you guys are interacting with the portfolio. So I think it's a very strategic function, and we couldn't be more delighted.
But tell me one thing, staying to that stage, right? Well, I understand the rationale of why it was needed, but our team has been designed to solve for primarily 0 to 1, while we are an early stage company, but a lot of our companies have grown to large growth, late stage, right? Any particular reason why you thought 0 to 1 or early 1 to 10 is the stage that we need to solve for?
Yeah. I think it mimicked or replicated the journey we had as investment professionals with the founders. So for better or for worse, all the, even the most storied founders today, at the 0 to 1 stage, I have personally been involved even in screening.
Okay.
So I used to tell founders that, this is a la carte menu for you. You can choose for me personally to do the screening. I will work with the consultants, do the shortlisting, referencing, and then bubble up 3 to you. To the other extreme, where you do everything and we do nothing, and somewhere in between where you do everything, then we do some of the final conformatory interviews. It's interesting. What most people would choose something in between. Would end up in this extreme, by the way, where they would say, "Aap hi karo," right? But then what I observed was that would happen in the 0 to 1. This goes back into the org 3.0. Definitely happened in org 1.0. Would happen a bit in org 2.0. Didn't happen in org 3.0. Because by that stage, you have done what you had to do. And there's this famous saying that says, fish for a person and you'll feed them once. If you teach them how to fish, you feed them. I'm not saying that we taught them, but when they needed our support, when they needed that shoulder, when they needed that crutch, we were there. By the org 3.0, if they still need us, we have a problem.
Yes.
So by then, they should have built out an HR function and stuff like that. But most importantly, by that stage, the founders are very clear. They are very clear what they want. Also, I think that piece of the market is well served. Often you need quote unquote executives, right? So there are executive search firms. Now I have a nuance on that where I think we will still need to play a role and it's changing a little bit. But generally, the big recruitment firms do serve that piece of the market.
Okay. No, I agree. I think Avi, also the 0 to 1 needs a different kind of lens versus late to exit stage companies, right? Because you're looking at different kind of people to solve different scale of businesses. And I think our flywheel of network, because we keep focusing on 0 to 1, right? It's more deeper there and we can easily create
impact. So I didn't think of it like that, but you're right. And also now that you're saying that, so we were saying earlier that the founders know what they want. Actually, the founders really know what they want by that stage, right? Because they may be looking at a particular, generally they are hiring specialists at that stage. They are not hiring generalists, right? By that stage, they know exactly कि हमको किस function में क्या चाहिए, क्या ops skill set चाहिए, क्या sales चाहिए, because they have designed their org accordingly. So I think that's also the case.
Correct. No, so, but Avi, in the last few years, the founders archetype has also changed, right? From inexperienced founders, we call them IF, to experienced founders now and experienced operators. We have a very clear bias towards experienced founders, operators, at least last few, right? But the dichotomy of that founders, while they tend to create more value, is because they have experience org building in their previous roles. They also command very high followership, right? So, I think the human capital served a great purpose for young founders who may not have that kind of network or didn't have a lot of use case of org building to refer to. How do you see this new archetype of founders optimizing this functional
You don't like it when you have less work to do?
I am in a VC, I have FOMO.
No, so first of all, just clarifying, I think we have built a lot of goodwill with experienced founders. But I do believe, and inexperienced, let's call them first-time founders, they are still the world changers. If you look at the maximum value creation till date in India, it's by the first-time founders. They're just fearless, right? So both will continue. And both will create a lot of value and they bring different things. Our goal is to help with value creation. I think the nature of our engagement with experienced founders is more bang for the buck because they do start with followership. They generally have a core team already in place, but वो L-2 नहीं होता. Often what is happening is people have kind of come together, but because they are mature and all of that, they also don't want to poach too much from their older companies. they need help here.
Yeah.
Right? And that again is 0 to 1
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
So plus they really know what they want. So
Yeah.
in some ways, when we were talking about, founders graduate to knowing what they want and the gaps, and you have only told me that the clarity, role definition, JD,
Yes.
everything is clear key. So I actually think it is a force multiplier.
So that's true. By the way, I think the clarity they have a clarity in terms what kind of, how do I org build, what is the nature of the team that should look like, right? So I think it's more ROI for the time spent and more clarity also in terms of org building. And I think they reboot also very fast. If they have made a wrong decision, they take that as an information and
Said I used to talk about stumbling from inside to inside. He gave me this framework of inductive versus deductive thinking, right? Which is, deductive is something happens and then you decide. Inductive is you imagine what all you need, and I think the experienced founders and those co-founders are very inductive in their thinking. So they will think of org design, yahan pe gap aayega, so therefore, so a lot of our role, where to your point that ye hierarchy or hiring mistake hogi, they'll probably make that once.
Yes.
But then they will have the whole org design in mind and saying, how we have to do it. I'll tell you one other thing which doesn't necessarily connect with experienced founders, but that is changing in the market. And I was going, when I mentioned we have to also think of evolution. See, we used to be very, as a industry, founders will run their companies throughout.
True.
If you look at what happened in the US, Google, the founders handed it to Eric Schmidt or brought in Eric Schmidt. He ran it for a while. Then they came back. Then they handed it over again. Microsoft, has blossomed under Satya. So I think this model is also evolving in this market. We have seen in our portfolio, Daily Hunt, we brought in Umang. Actually, Viru brought in Umang. So then
Five-star.
Five-star, Ranga and team and Shrikant, and then Manish Patel and Swipe, right? So I think this model is also evolving, and I think that's where we have to also evolve. Because typically it used to be that we didn't even used to think about it or broach the topic, right? वो 0 to 1 नहीं है. That is a very different level of skill set. So I think that's where the market is heading also.
Yes. Okay. Now, Avi, I think I agree with you. A lot of our VCs are doing it. In fact, we do get a lot of reach outs telling that, how have you done it, right? And I think it's great to know that finally, it's a huge ecosystem. And I think, so we are also mindful of the fact that, the playbook has to be still created. But what is your opinion of how do you see this role evolving now?
So I think, look, we have to keep evolving with the market, right? So in my view, we have spoken about founders going through multiple journeys. First we spoke about first-time founders, experienced founders, and we spoke about infinity founders. One of the recordings we have just done today is this concept of digital industrialists, right? We have a few in our portfolio. Actually, we can count 2 to start with. Ashish at Oxiso built out a new company. Bhavish built it. By the way, in Ola Electric, those are again 0 to 1 journeys. And when we were doing Ola Electric, and at that time, I think you had come in, Rajinder himself was driving some of the search. So I think this is just so exciting because I think we are going to see more and more of this. Right? Founders, as they are traversing their journey also, so my view at a very macro level, we have to keep pace with our founders and the market. They are growing far faster than we are. We can, and it's very aspirational actually. Companies that are looking to do IPOs will want investor relations.
Yes. In fact, last week we were talking about that.
So I think we have to keep reinventing. If you look at ultimately, in a very different framework, Adam Smith's economics, there are 3 resources: land, labor, capital. Land in our view of the world is generally product, IP, whatever. Labor I'll come back to. Capital, of course, there's fundraising happens once in a while. Labor, which is human capital, is the core resource. So as this is my view, the other thing we are going to see is, which we have already seen, this industry is going to be a talent magnet. Yes, we go through ups and downs, layoffs are happening. If you take a 10-year view, if this is going to be 20 to 30% of India's GDP, which I believe it will be that's what we've discussed in multiple episodes as well, that's up to 2 trillion of market cap. And up to 20% of India's digital GDP may end up in the digital world. That means up to 20% of India's skilled workforce and also semi-skilled, gig economy will be in the digital world. So I just think the things it throws us at us to constantly reimagine what the function can be. Also, like I said, it's strategic, it's beyond recruiting or design or benchmarking.
So much.
Sometimes you have to actually think about the fact that this has not been done before. So how do you do this? Right? But you are in the throes of it. So what do you think?
No, Avi, not that I haven't thought of it. I think when, my colleague Dave, Alex and all had already started it, and so thankful for them for taking those first steps. But I think it has been a playbook creation, right? There is no use case to refer to. And so just like entrepreneurs throw a lot of dirt and some work, I think it is for us also. Building org is the base problem to solve. That is there, but so much more to be done. So I think there is this subconscious pressure of what more, right? And I think creating a playbook like People First is one try, right? How do we create more awareness in the ecosystem around, so that some bit of wrong romanticism is broken into, right? So you're attracting people with the right mindset. So that is one way of contributing. I think when you said 3, labor,
land, labor, capital.
I think the other 2 constant, in the long run, people will be the only differential between companies, right? The competitive advantage, and hence I think it will continue to be very strategic. And I think Matrix has hacked it in terms of because when we get introduced to our IP, to our founders, they don't treat us as just recruiters because they have already been sensitized, told that what the human capital team can deliver, right? So at day one, we are starting from a position of respect and comfort.
No, I'll tell you, when we are in competitive deal situations, if we are investing in a founder who is not well known, but is sought after. All VCs will be running after them, right? These founders are very thoughtful about their selection and choice and decision. And when they speak to other founders, they hear all this, so which is great. So I completely agree with that in terms of. But I'll tell you, in terms of going to the next level of saying there are these founders who are growing. What more can we do? Like you said, we have now started this podcast. Maybe we facilitate a community. The community of all the human capital people coming together. Because often we don't know the solutions, but there is also no forums to bring people together. So I think it's just very exciting, and we'll continue to.
No, I think Avi, overall, whenever I get to ask, right, what next? I said, Abhi to maza aa raha hai. Yeah. But broadly, I think you said, right, smart founders, I think the best founders have the bandwidth to design their cap table. And when capital becomes commodity, I feel human capital team has the advantage to become the moat for a VC, right? In terms of, everybody can give me a check, but what else, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that I'm excited about, and definitely Digital India and the propensity, what impact can we create. This has been great. Avi, I cannot end this conversation without asking you about Matrix. Very close to my heart. If I'm allowed iota of pride someday, doing my bit in building the team that we have for would be one. And we are almost 60 now. The operating team is, for the first time, larger in size than the investing team, right? But 17 years of building this, I'm sure the ecosystem has evolved, and similarly the VC ecosystem has also evolved, the talent, right? So just, I know too short a time for you to just wrap up 17 years, but would love to take a sneak peek into your learning of how you've seen this ecosystem evolve, right? And some of the do's and don'ts.
No, so look, I think couldn't be more excited. Like we have said before, digital nation building is underway. I would actually pay for the privilege of this job, and I think that applies to all of us. We want to be paid, but I think that applies to all of us.
True.
And the next decade is just going to be so exciting, right? But when I look back last 15, 17 years, it's not been easy. We ourselves have gone through this org 3.0. I wish I could go back 10 years, and the clarity I have of the next 10 to 20 years, I did not have 10 years ago for the following 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Right? And that's because the market context has changed. Maybe I have also grown, and I'm sure some of that is there. But just like with our founders, I was just having another episode with Rajinder on digital industrialists. We spoke about the fact that, look, for the longest time, it was about surviving.
Yes.
Now it's about thriving.
Yes.
So when you are in your thriving mode, and I'm a neuroscience believer and higher brain, then the kind of thinking that unlocks is very different from when you are in your lower brain and survival mode, right? So the learnings are therefore with that context. I think what we did well is that, or what we did well and maybe not so well, depending on the perspective, constant change and adaptation, right? Went from a mid-market PE firm, we were a firm which was, very 2-3 people at the top. Then we put a lot of analysts, younger people, added operating team. Latest changes, we have brought in domain experts, even on the investing side. So I think constant change is something we thrive in. I think personally I really enjoy. And I think that has been a strength. Can sometimes be nerve-wracking for people.
Yes.
But adaptability therefore is key. To me, what we have done very well and very poorly is communication. When we have done it very well, it's worked very well. When we have not done it, all the problems because you have to deal with them. So I just think, for advice to founders, if there is one, is the power of communication. And it is about, when you are in this, change is the only constant. People don't know all the
what's
context,
happening,
right? I mean, we have had discussions here saying, hey, somebody's joined who has never informed us. Now, then we said, maybe we need to have a newsletter.
Yes.
So, I think communication. I think everybody is signed up. I would say communication and transparency. If people believe they are in a fair, equitable, transparent, high communication, or they can generally put up with anything. But I don't think we've been consistent in it. And like I said, we've been excellent or we've been very poor. At offsites, you and I have done some of this, that then articulate the change also. That, when I used to have this issue that why do people come and complain?
Yes.
Because my assumption was, I have been a founder. I'm not telling people what they can and cannot do. I remember you asking me once, I want to do this, can I do this? I said, who's stopping you? As long as you are increasing the surface area for the firm, as long as you are doing something that will help the firm overall, go ahead and do it. That's called founder's mindset.
Correct.
And then I realized, wait a minute, but we haven't communicated that
to them. We assume that they know.
We just assume.
Yeah, true.
And they don't know that they are allowed to go and just do it. Right?
Yes.
So, communication. And that with every offsite, we have themes. We try to, we have talked about founder's mindset, we have talked about thoughtful execution.
Yes.
Various themes. So, I think that's been one big learning. On the future, like I said, very, very excited. Thinking about now with this new, so-called, somewhat new, domain expertise coming in. The way I think about it, because we also spoke about at one point, ops team, IP team, I don't even think like that. I actually don't think like that. To me, there are skill sets. And our job is to generate great returns for our investors.
Yes.
We have chosen the path, hopefully, of partnering with the best founders to get to that outcome. That path of partnering with the best founders has various skill sets involved. Skill set is, you should know something about their sectors or various sectors. Okay, that's why we've hired people with domain expertise in the IP team. You should know how to help them raise money. Okay, that's corporate development.
Yes.
Is that ops or
Yes,
IP?
yes.
You should know how to help them build teams. You should know how to help them market,
Yes.
finance, legal. So to me, it's skill sets,
Yeah.
and we are continuing to round out skill sets, and we'll continue to do that. And very excited about where that takes. I remember first we did, when you came, we did M25.
Yes.
What does Matrix look like in 2025? Then I think about a year and a half ago, we spoke about 2035, because that's a fantastic opportunity. In my head, I'm thinking I'm 50.
Are you?
So when the next stage becomes clear, you have to start thinking. I mean, I'm joking, because it's a little bit. I think M35 itself we have to first achieve. But that's it. Constant change and constant evolution, and in my mind, therefore, constant excitement.
Yeah, no, if I can say for the entire org, I think privileged to be part of the team now and doing what we are doing. I know you said we are privileged, we should get paid for what we are doing. I agree, but the salaries looks good. But jokes apart, Avi, thank you so much. Very excited about People First, and couldn't have had a better episode to kickstart this.
See, another example, Rupali, of founders' mindset. I know you suggested this in one of the meetings, and the answer was, please go ahead and do it. It's there's a joke in the US, or somebody said that people normally put up a sign, right? In private property, trespassers will be persecuted. In our case, people with ideas will be asked to do it themselves. So wonderful initiative.
Yeah.
Very excited about it, and I'm sure it will be very helpful.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to hosting a lot of our founders and founders from the outer ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Too. Yeah.
This is for the ecosystem now.
Thank you so much, Avi.
Thank you,
Yes.
Rupali.